Remington Podcast, where we take a deep dive into all things ammunition. I'm your host, Audrey Mayes, and today I'm sitting down with research and development engineers Logan Henry and Colt Lloyd.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Today we're talking about tungsten, specifically in the waterfowl space. We've talked about tungsten in the turkey hunting space before, but it's, we're deep into waterfowl season here in Arkansas. Or it just started.
Just started.
By the time this comes out, we'll be a couple weeks into it.
Fair.
Arkansas is a huge, waterfowl hub. How did you boys get into waterfowl hunting?
For me, it's honestly been within probably the past few years. I started bird hunting up in Kansas and stuff like that. I was typically a big deer hunter and just kind of loved, learned that I loved wing shooting. So me and my dad is something, Arkansas, we've got lots of ducks, decided we'd take it up and built a couple of blinds on some of our ponds and started doing it. And, as Colt knows too, he's done it for many years. It's a learning experience. Every time you go out, you're learning something new. So I'd say I'm still probably in a little bit of that learning curve, but we're getting there, watching videos, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
and I would say I'm not too far different. So probably when I was in elementary school, my dad, he was on a lease and he hunted for 5 or 6 years. Then we lost that lease and didn't duck hunt until probably, I don't know, I want to say start of high school. I was like, let's find a lease. And we found one. And so we kind of were the same thing. We hadn't hunted in a while, so we had to kind of relearn it. Like, heck, this is only the second year I've been hunting out of a boat. And it's for certainly a learning experience. So, I'm no expert by any means. If you hear me call, you'd think I started yesterday.
Yeah, we've heard the trials and tribulations of the boat so far. So
it's been rough.
But I hear it's pretty nice now. My first experience in Arkansas was public land, flooded timber. That was wild.
yeah. Oh, especially coming from what you've came from.
Yeah.
I've hunted a little bit of open timber, but not an extensive amount. It's different for sure.
Yeah, like I've hunted it twice and it wasn't public. And it was, I cannot, the little bit of public experience I have, I cannot imagine you mixing that with public timber.
No, it was.
The stories are wild.
Yeah, and it was wild. It was a race to the whole.
So you did the race and everything
did
like
the
that,
race, Colby Garner fell. That was hilarious.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so, trying to get us out there. But it was a good time. And I feel like I really got to, dive into what Arkansas duck hunting culture is through that. And then I did like a private guiding experience, one too, in just a flooded field. And so I think
that's probably your more common in Arkansas.
I don't know. A lot of people do the public.
Yeah.
If I didn't like sleep so much, I would probably be a lot more likely to do it. You have to get up so early.
Yeah, 2 a.m. at the gate waiting for it to open.
Yeah, you need to be there. I had a roommate that was an engineer major with me, and they were all about it. They would designate a person. Yeah. This day you're the guy that camps out. And they'd set the truck there and they're camping out in it. Yeah. And I just never was. Even during then I wouldn't go with them because I'm like, I'm not that dedicated.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the dedicated camper every fifth day or something like that.
We did it in college. We didn't camp out because there wasn't that much of a need up there, but it's like we hunted Frog Bayou and it was like we'd wake up at 1 a.m., be on the road at 1:30. And it's like now we have a lease and it's like I can wake up at roughly 3:30 and I'll leave at 4:15. But it's there I'd have to already be out there setting up decoys.
Yeah.
Or racing.
Wake up at 4, leave the house at 4:30 and just go sit in the blind. And as long as I'm there 20 minutes before, kind of depends on the morning how early my ducks are going to fly in. But
yeah. It was we left the house at 1:30. We got there at 2 a.m. We waited for them to open the gates at 3:30. We got into the hole at 4, and then you wait for shooting light.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's cold.
It's a marathon.
Yeah.
By the end of the day,
you're tired.
At sundown, right after you get your evening hunt in, I'm ready to go to bed.
There's no evening hunt.
There's no evening hunt on public.
No.
On the
shoot, it's
think you have to be out by noon.
Yeah, it's
really?
11 o'clock, and you're like,
never
all right.
Public.
I'm like, I'm not even waiting until noon. I'm tired. There's no ducks. I'm tired.
Yeah.
We leave. So.
Yeah, normally I'm it's 9:45.
Oh, that's me. At about 9:45, 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm out.
Yeah.
Don't matter.
Most of your ducks in my area, you've seen your flight at that point.
Yeah.
You might still get some geese.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
us. Geese could come around, anytime, just about. But I don't care to hunt geese as much as I do ducks, so I don't mind dipping out.
Yeah. So diving back into tungsten, what we have like a little bit of a history when it comes to duck hunting ammunition. We used to be able to use lead. Now we can't. Colt.
We never were able to.
We were never able to, but
those were the good old days of duck hunting.
according to like
you hear people talking about, oh yeah, we can make shots with copper plated lead 4s, and it's like you'd be hitting shots at 60 yards, and and that's the whole reason tungsten is a thing. I mean, it's the closest we can get to imitate being able to hunt with lead.
being non-tox.
Being non-tox, it meets the. I saw, I think one of the advertisements said that tungsten was 53% more dense than steel. It's substantial, but you also pay for it.
Yeah.
And so it was in 99 that we transitioned to only steel, right?
No, 90.
91.
91 was
lead.
that, and then 99 was whenever I believe, first started coming out.
It was late 90s.
Yeah. I don't know the exact year. And for the most part, that product hasn't really changed. It's just one of those. It's been there. There's nothing really out there that you can, other than TSS, that will beat it in terms of non-tox and density. But you're going to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of TSS as far as duck hunting SKUs out there that I know of.
I think that's purely just on price point.
Yeah.
Most people can't. I don't use tungsten all the time because I can't afford to.
Yeah.
But I certainly can't afford to shoot TSS at a duck, not the way I shoot.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know the difference between, like, Wingmaster HD is our offering in tungsten here at Remington, and a lot of people don't really put it together that this is not tungsten super shot. This is not TSS.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can tell on the box because the tungsten super shot, isn't it like 18?
Yeah, tungsten.
It's 18.
TSS is 18.
Yeah.
Pure tungsten is, I think, right around 19. You have to have some degree of alloy in it to make it where it's workable. This is an alloy. It's sitting around 12.
I think it's right at 12.
Yeah.
And then to compare that to lead, we're at, I believe, 11.2 grams per cc.
Yeah.
So it is a little more than lead even. So
not as malleable, so you're probably not going to get as much. I guess wound channels on ducks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But on steel, you're looking at it's high 7s.
Yes.
Bismuth is high 8s. So it's substantial over the cheaper offerings, but it's not something that I use every day just because I can't afford it. I have my times that I use it.
Yeah.
And I have the ones that I, stick in the pocket for, when you need them. But
yeah, you were telling me earlier, about the strategy that you use with like having these Wingmaster HD shells in your vest. Can you share that with us again?
Well, so like we hunt in the field, and so I have a dog this year. It's learning, so it's eventually we'll get to where maybe we don't have to use the follow-up shots on the wounded ducks. For right now, we do. So a lot of times you may knock a duck down and it may be 35 yards away and it's swimming away from you, which it's super hard to kill them at that point. But it's wounded, so you got to get it. So that's where if you may keep like 5 or 6 in your vest, and that's when you pull it up, put it in your gun, and you can actually knock it dead. Otherwise, we've had them before where it's like, you're sending 6 or 7 shots to be able to get this one bird, so that you can actually recover a game that you've wounded.
Because if you're chasing it yourself,
and at that point, if I've shot 7 times with steel, I might as well just shoot once with tungsten.
Right. Price point, that's probably about the same, or if not
it's
more.
It's probably
in steel.
more for
yeah.
And especially when you're factoring, if you have, some places you have ammo restrictions on how much you can take in. So it's like you take a couple in for those shots. It's like where we hunt, we don't have an ammo restriction, but I'm not only going to take so much in there, just from a space standpoint.
There's no point in loading down your blind bag with that.
Yeah, that's where I could also see this being very valuable. Is how much is it on some of the WMAs that you can carry in?
I think it's all 25 now. They changed that rule in Arkansas now.
Okay,
from 15.
It had been 15. I think there's some that didn't have restrictions that are now 25, but from what I understand, everything that was 15 is 25.
Gotcha. So see, whenever I would have especially said whenever it's 15, now depending on how the user shoots, obviously, this is a very viable. I mean, if you've only got one box to carry, I mean, this stuff is good.
One shot dead bird.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One shot dead bird every time. There is hardly ever I've ever shot a bird. I don't know that I can remember a time I've shot a bird twice with Wingmaster.
With Tungsten, yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, last year was really the first year that I used it I just had never really splurged on it. And I mean, I've got that. I know you've got one that you used, and it's like, but there was a time we were out there, and it was one of those, like, sometimes on a goose coming over, you're at that, like, is it too high or is it in range? Yeah. And sometimes you make a misjudgment. And like the guy that we were hunting with was like as I was about to pull the trigger, was like too far. Pulled the trigger, dropped it. But then I had to go get it because, I don't have a dog.
You're like,
so, I mean,
dang it.
By the time I got to it, I had to take like a 5-minute rest to walk back to the boat.
Yeah, I mean, and it's also really good for geese because you get, you can use a smaller pellet size and get the same kind of like terminal performance. Is that what it is?
I think we advertise 3 pellet size difference.
2 or 3, yes.
2 to 3 pellet size difference. You can do the same as your steel.
Yeah, because it's if you're using, it may be, or is it 4? Because if you're using a BB steel, you could use like a 2 bismuth and maybe a 4 tungsten.
Something like that.
I think that's
and then, I mean, if you're doing TSS, it could be a 7.5. But
which a lot of times I'll stay with similar shot size, but your knockdown power is just wow.
It's out of the
I mean,
world,
it's incredible. I mean, I think my story's pretty similar to yours. We were coming out of the blind, some geese, we fanned them out, and Dad didn't even pick up his gun. We both had Wingmaster in our guns, and I just picked up, and I mean, honestly, it's probably not always, I would say, the most ethical thing to do, but I took a pop shot at him.
Sure.
And I mean, had to have been every bit of 60 yards, and there was no flopping, there was nothing, just dead, fell right out of the sky.
Turn out the lights.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. Which is what you want, not only because you don't want to chase it, but you're also trying to be like that ethical hunter.
Yeah.
We're not trying to like make animals suffer out here.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where, I mean, Wingmaster for me, that was like the opening moment where I was like, this is not a cheap product, but wow, it's impressive.
Yeah, but it's fairly worth it. And especially, like you guys brought up geese, shoot, 60, 70 yards in the air? Like, they're far away from you.
Yeah,
so,
and a goose is
big.
Yeah.
Big, hard to kill typically compared to your duck.
Especially with steel. I mean, we've had geese come through at 30 yards. I mean, you hammer them with steel, and it takes 3 or 4 shots.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you hit them perfectly in the head, it doesn't. But I'm always shooting behind birds half the time anyway, so I'm good to hit the bird.
We're not professionals here, okay? But yeah,
by the end of the season, maybe we're getting there.
Yeah,
but
you're getting
and then you
closer.
start it all over again the next year.
Yeah, but I mean, you're out there for ducks, and then those snow geese fly over, and you're like, I could take a shot at that. Take that Wingmaster out of your vest, pop it in your gun. Take a shot.
Snow goose, I might let go. Speckle belly,
okay,
those are good. Those are good eating.
We're getting picky out here, but that's okay.
Remember the story that they told about? So Remington years ago loaded heavy shot in some of our ammo. So the original heavy shot blend. So one of the old engineers, Vinny, used to take that to his duck club, and the duck club literally told him, shooting that tungsten blend, that if you continue to shoot that, you're out of the club, because I mean, he would kill ducks so much farther than what anybody else could.
So they weren't getting shots.
They weren't getting shots because he was killing all the ducks way out there.
That's so funny. Good old Vinny. And by the way, you've heard the name Vince Scarlatta on this podcast a couple of times. He's a legend here at Remington, so that'd be why. So Tungsten, I want to talk a little bit about our offerings in Tungsten. We load mostly 12 gauge. I know that. I think we have one 20 offering.
In a size 4 ounce of weight.
In a 4. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we offer everything from like 2 3/4 to 3 inch to 3.5 inch, right? In the 12 gauge.
Yeah. And anywhere from it looks like the biggest shot size we have is a BB, and the smallest is 6. So there's pretty good range depending on your application.
Yeah. And again, those far out birds, those birds that just won't fall for steel. Some
Wingmaster with BB.
I don't necessarily buy a lot of BB Wingmaster. I'm probably a 2 or a 4 guy myself.
For geese, That's probably where that would be, where that would have its offer.
Yeah. If you're hunting geese maybe out in a field, I'd probably do that. Maybe not over, I don't know. That's just my opinion. If you're like lay hunting for a goose.
Well, on those, they're actually usually decoying. If you're hunting not necessarily for geese and taking the shots at the ones that are just coming over, then that's where that probably would come in handy.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Because a lot of those, I've never really done a field goose hunt, but from like the videos you see, they're like on top of you.
Yeah. That's fair, actually. Yeah,
it
they're
on
like right on top of you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've only ever shot a goose, to be honest, in Colorado. It was a really weird experience. Private land, right? And they all just come into this private land all the time. And I'm like, can I shoot one of those? And he goes, the owner of the land's like, absolutely, go out there and shoot it. And I literally was coming up on these geese and had to get them to get up. Like, that's how close I was. Yeah, so I was like trying to shoot them in the air to shoot one down.
That's bad. It's like going on one of those like farm bird hunts.
Yeah, no doubt. Whenever I go pheasant hunting and I've got to kick them to get up.
Yeah. So that's my geese experience. That's why I'm like, sure. But Wingmaster HD, definitely a blind bag must, in my opinion. 1 box a season would be plenty.
I'll shoot them at ducks regularly. It's an expensive product, but I like shooting them at ducks. I like one shot dead.
Late season, I'll probably try to swap over to it. Just because, late season birds are a little bit more wary.
They're
not getting as close. Still trying to make sure you're making ethical shots, but it gets you a little bit more range.
Yeah, definitely.
And by that point, I am shooting better. So it's like, if I'm 5 feet behind the bird, it don't matter if it's steel, it don't matter if it's tungsten. I'm still not going to hit it. But like late season, you're kind of getting your feel for things. Yeah. So it's like
you're back on.
You're a lot more likely one shot. I'm on the bird. It's down.
Yeah. No, that's for me. It's like getting past the first couple of hunts. Like now in the season, I think I'm past that point. My last hunt, I shot really well. I think the first hunts, I'm getting so excited, that I'm shooting shots faster than I would. Or we talked about earlier, on my first flush, I shot 2 shells. Just boom, boom.
Yeah.
And then you've still got birds flying. And it's, after that hunt, I was like, okay, let's slow it down and be very methodical. Bird, bang, bird, bang, let's make sure we're there.
Pick a bird, any bird.
One bird. That is the, you see 20 birds get up sometimes and you're like, oh, let's kill them all, rather than you've got to pick that one bird and kill it. And then you can go to the next one.
Right. Yep. Focus on one bird at a time. Yeah. We were talking about earlier with like semi-autos versus pump action shotguns. We were talking about how with a pump, I feel like you actually aim.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think I probably killed more birds when I hunted with the pump, but you also have the more recoil, so it's that trade off.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you shoot a 3.5 and a pump, and you've got a
it's a bit different.
Chicken son of a gun. You know?
I like to stick to 3-inch shells personally. So
that's my usual bread and butter. I shoot a lot of 3-inch shells.
I'll do a hodgepodge. Like I'll just reach in there and it'd be 3.5 inch, 2 3/4. It's whatever.
Full set.
I just kind of go in the closet and whatever gets pulled out is what we're hunting with that day.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm like really excited. Going on a duck hunt here in a couple of weeks. I'm pumped that I get to shoot my new Remington 870. So
very nice.
Yeah, with Remington ammo. So it's like a twofer.
Absolutely. Yeah, take you out a good hodgepodge of everything, and then next time we converse, we can decide what your favorite is.
Yeah, I like that idea.
She'll be out there taking marketing photos.
100%. Come on, Colt, that's my job. Any last minute thoughts on tungsten for waterfowl?
It's a duck killer.
Yeah.
Bang flop all the time. Mm-hmm. I haven't shot anything that I felt was better than it. Honestly.
Yeah.
At minimum, it's a good thing to have probably a box for the birds on the water that are wounded.
Yeah.
Not for the water swatters.
Not for the water swatters. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a blind bag must have. And if you can get a case, if that's like in your wheelhouse, absolutely. Because like Logan said, pull the trigger and they fold like that. It's not a big deal. So Well, there you have it, guys. Remington is on the rise. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this podcast with your hunting or shooting buddies. If you have any questions for me or Logan and Colt here, you can email us at podcast@remington.com. Thanks for listening.